This is the SF Productions Podcast Network.
Let's have some Thanksgiving leftovers.
We love those Thanksgiving leftovers. From the Pop Culture Bunker, I'm Mindy.
And I'm Mark. You can check out our audio podcast, How I Got My Wife to Read Comics, on iTunes or on our website, sfpodcastnetwork.com. Well, Dancing with the Stars wrapped up another season.
Boy, this was really a different season than we expected.
Yeah, so let's see how we did. Starting from the beginning, in terms of their position as they got kicked out, Lolo Jones with partner Kyo Matsepi.
We both thought that she'd go like halfway through.
Middle of the pack.
Not out first, that's
She was
for
out
sure.
first, and she was terrible.
Yeah, she wasn't very good.
Yeah. Followed by Tavis Smiley, partner with Sharna Burgess. We both thought he would be out first. He ended up going out second.
Well, yeah.
And again, remember, our scoring is if we're right on the button, you get 2 points.
Okay.
If you're one off, you get 1 point.
Okay.
So we're both one off, so it's now 1-1.
Okay.
Randy Couture with partner Karina Smirnoff. I thought he would be 10th. He would be 10th. You thought 6th.
Yeah, I thought he'd go a little bit further.
And
I didn't know anything about him.
yeah, and he went out in the 11th spot, so that gives me 1 more point, so it's 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Betsy Johnson with Tony Davolani.
Now, I think she went out way too soon. I thought she was better than this position after I saw her dance. Now, I thought she would be out at 11th. So.
And so in this case, I thought she would be next to first, or the second person to go out, and you thought one position earlier or later. So she went out in the 10th spot, and so you get a point there for being one off. Jonathan Bennett and partner Allison Holker, old Bug Eyes. We both thought that he would be out fairly quickly in 9th position, and that's exactly what he was. So we both get 2 points, so it's now 4-4. Antonio Sabato Jr. with Cheryl Burke. We
both thought he'd go farther than that, just
Right.
because soap stars tend to do better.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think mainly because of some other people coming up who became fan favorites, even though they weren't very good. And so went out in the 8th spot. We were way off on that. We have Michael Waltrip with Emma Slater. I thought 8th spot. You thought 10th spot. Ended up being 7th spot. That gives me a point for, it's now 5-4. This was one of the ones that, frankly, should have been out much earlier.
I think so, too, yeah. He kind of struggled a little bit.
Right.
But
Leah Thompson with Arten Chignasev. We both thought she'd go very far. I thought 3rd, you thought 2nd.
And I really think she might have gone a little bit further if it hadn't been for Tommy Chong.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
And so she ended up in 6th spot. And speaking of Tommy Chong with Peter Murgatroyd, we both thought he would be out
He's
very
old.
early. But apparently he actually had some dance background.
He had some talent at dancing,
and he got a huge fan base.
and PETA really, really pushed him.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, and so he ended up in 5th position. Amazing. Bethany Moda from YouTube and Derek Huff. We both thought, due to the Derek Huff factor mostly.
Yeah.
I thought 2nd, you thought 1st.
Yeah.
And ended up in 4th spot. Janelle Parrish with Val Shmerkovsky, who I thought was going to take it all, and you thought was going to be in 3rd position.
And she was.
And she was. So that now puts us at, the score is 5-6 in Mindy's favor.
Yay! First time ever. Yay!
Sadie Robertson, Duck Girl with Mark Ballas. We both thought she would do okay. We didn't think she'd make it to the runner-up, which she did. We both thought 5th. She ended up in 2nd spot. And then Alfonso Ribeiro. We didn't think either.
Middle of the pack.
Yeah, middle of the pack. Partnered
but he also had dance experience we didn't know about.
That's true. Partnered with Whitney Carson. He was the big winner. We put him in 7th or 8th spot. And so, you win by 1 point.
Yay!
Yay! And the next season will come up in the spring.
The 10-year
The
anniversary.
10th year anniversary of the show, where they're making a big deal about. Meanwhile, the new Star Wars teaser broke the internet on Friday.
Ooh.
And the teaser really is a teaser. It tells you almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally going to go to only 30 theaters and nowhere else. There was a huge uproar online. So they, all right, fine, we'll put it on iTunes. It leaked everywhere. They put it officially out. There's plenty of official ways. You couldn't trip over the internet this weekend without running into it.
I didn't look at it. I didn't actually go on the internet much this weekend, so.
And basically everyone's talking about the crossbar lightsaber.
Okay, so what is this
So
crossbar?
you see this shot of somebody in black from the rear. He's got a red lightsaber, and there are two extra pieces of light coming out from the sides. So it's like a 3-part saber.
Well, because we had a 2-part one in the
so why not
last
3?
trilogy, so of course, pretty soon it's going to be like a little pinwheel lightsaber.
Yeah. So, but that's
And
all.
an effect for that.
But everyone's like, okay, so how does that exactly work?
Yeah, didn't you cut yourself in half? Ooh, I'm going to hit you with, oops!
Yeah. So just lop your hand off, your head off very easily. But that's all basically people are talking about. We do have until December 2015 to actually find out what's going to happen. So with a year to go, let's talk about our first memories of seeing the original Star Wars in 1977.
We are both old enough to have seen it in the movie theater.
Right.
Right. I'm a little older. I was a freshman or a sophomore. I think a freshman.
And I was just coming out of 7th grade, I believe.
So, I knew about Star Wars ahead of time. I was so excited about it. I don't remember where I knew about it from, but I just remember that I made one of my girlfriends go with me. I dragged her to it. We went to the very first showing. And I meant I had been the very first showing because it was on a Saturday morning. It was the first one we could go to.
Right.
But it was like 10 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
And we got to the mall really early, and we got tickets without a problem. We went in, and it really wasn't even a crowded movie theater. I mean, it was fairly crowded, but not, packed or anything. Right. And boy, I just remember it was everything I wanted it to be, you know?
See, this is the thing. I don't remember a lot about it before it came out. I mean, I'm guessing you must have been reading Starlog or something. This is way before the internet, so
right, yeah.
So that's the only way you would have learned about it was because you didn't have even like an Entertainment Tonight back then. So it was basically science fiction magazines was pretty much the only way you're going to read about this.
And I think that I might have even been reading some fanzines or something. I'm not sure.
That could be.
But so. Starlog, or there was another one. I can't remember what it was.
Well, there were several of them back then.
Yeah, and then I remember that my friend, who was not into science fiction at all, came out. She just absolutely loved it too, and we came out to this huge crowd waiting in line, So I guess that maybe we just snuck in under the radar for the first one or something.
Apparently. And I remember seeing it the first week. Maybe not even the first weekend. Maybe. I just don't remember. All I remember is I went to go see it at the McKinley Theater in Canton, which is no longer there. It's now a e-cigarette shop.
Woohoo!
So, and then I just remember going to see it many, many times over the, for those who weren't there, it came out the Memorial Day weekend of 77. It was on until Labor Day of 78.
Well, and the really interesting thing is that it wasn't multiplexes back then. You might have had 2 or 3 screens in a movie theater.
There weren't 14.
There weren't 14.
20.
And so to have one movie stay there for so long, that was just phenomenal.
But it was an enormous moneymaker for the theaters.
Yeah.
And also, again, you just can't imagine at the time this movie that came out, which frankly had very little publicity overall, and a relatively small budget.
Well, I don't think many movies had much publicity at that point.
No, really not then. And, the merchandising, which went from 0 to $1 billion, by the time the summer was over, you couldn't go to a department store and look in any direction. You would see something was licensed Star Wars.
Right.
It was everything.
Well, Mark likes to tell the story about how that first Christmas, they didn't have action figures done for it.
Yes. Yeah, so back then, making action figures took several months. And again, nobody thought this movie was going to go anywhere. And back then, you didn't make the action figures until the movie was a hit. Mm-hmm. And even then, very few movies even made action figures. So when this became a huge hit, and all the kids are like, where are the action figures? It's like, oh, well, we can't make them in time. So they came out with the infamous IOU, this piece of cardboard with pictures of them on it that was put under millions of kids' Christmas trees.
You'll get this by June.
Right, yeah. Right, I think it was April, I think they'd say. This will be shipped to you. You send this card in, and sign it, and then, and we'll have it shipped to you. And and that was not an issue by Christmas of 78. It was everything Star Wars.
Yeah. Now, I think probably this was really one of the first movies that had so much repeat box office business, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seemed like nearly everybody who saw it at least twice.
Yeah.
Now, you saw it dozens, I don't know.
Yeah, at least 20 times.
I didn't, because I really loved it so much the first time, and I kind of wanted to savor the feeling of how I felt having seen it, I still think about that sometimes, it was like focused all of my sci-fi love or something.
Oh, yeah, and it was such a breakthrough film. Mm-hmm. It was such a landmark achievement because they literally created technology for the movie that had not existed prior to that to do the spaceship battles. Mm-hmm. And it was just, before that, science fiction was very cheesy.
Things on strings,
yes. And after that, everything changed. When that movie became such a hit, every single other science fiction property that was sitting in development or a script, everything got greenlit. This is when Star Trek became a motion picture. It was going to be a TV show, and then they made it into a full motion picture. This is things as bizarre as Quark. If you remember that TV series, that got greenlit because of Star Wars.
Right.
Everything, anything we got, to clear out everything. Obviously, people wanted science fiction. Mm-hmm. But it was
just like sort of now everybody is superhero crazed.
Right. Yeah. It's that. But it was all that and only that.
Yes.
Everything was Star Wars for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Why don't I remind you, you can check out the audio podcast.
Right. How I Got My Wife to Read Comics on iTunes or on our website, sfpodcastnetwork.com. From the Pop Culture Bunker, I'm Mindy.
And I'm Mark. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.